Hey, what's up, everybody? Sean here with the personal fitness journey update. This is the recap for week 21. So, as always, we're going to go through the process of looking at what exercises I've done each week, what meals I've eaten, and overall what the progress is on a week to week basis, and a little bit of reflection from this week. The purpose of these videos is so that someone, in the future, maybe considering going through some type of fitness journey of their own. And a lot of times when people are starting out, they look for some information about other fitness journeys that people have gone through. So this is essentially a little video journal that I'm putting together week to week so that you can follow along, or just get an idea of what type of stuff you might go through when you go through your own personal fitness journey. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. We're well into this now. I believe this is the third or fourth week using this new, but it basically alternates between upper body, lower body, full body, does all that, and then finally a cardio day at the end. So Sunday is always arms and upper body. Monday is always leg and lower body. Then we got Tuesday, we got the full body and abs. That's also Tuesday being the boxing day. So I have a 45-minute boxing class for that. Then we start all over, arm day, leg day, full body without the boxing class. And then finally, we wrap it up on Saturday with some cardio, doing some stair steps, doing some sprint works, just to work on some of the speeds. All right. With it, it was also a diet routine. So we've gone through one full rotation of this already, but essentially we alternate between fasting for a day, 24-hour fast, and then eating normal breakfast, lunch, dinner, continuing that. And then every Friday, it changes up just because of the way the rotations work. One of the Fridays, I'll have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then won't eat again until Sunday. So that basically amounts to a 36-hour fast between dinner and breakfast on Sunday. And then the following week, the rotation works out so that I only have breakfast on Friday. So waiting till breakfast on Sunday amounts to about a 48. So we finished up a 36-hour fast last week. This week, I'm going into the 48-hour fast. So the last breakfast I had was on morning, not eating anything today, Saturday, and I'll eat Sunday morning for breakfast. Now, there are some slight changes to this that I'll discuss in some of the coming slides here, just because I think the way we're fasting this every day was impacting my ability to progress. The main reason I'm doing this is previously I was doing a full alternate day fasting, 36 hours of not eating, followed by a day of eating regular, and then another 36 hours. Lost a lot of weight that way. Eventually, I hit my goal of 155 pounds. In order to focus more on the strength training and less on losing additional weight, I stopped the full alternate day fasting and then switched to the at least having breakfast every day. So we have a 24-hour fast followed by weekends with those alternating longer fasts. All right, so day one here, that's one that starts off with arm day, upper body. And if you watched my previous video in week 20, you'll see that I was a little bit down because the progress was going backwards. Back in week 19, for that 145 pounds of the bench, I was able to do 3. Week 20, I was only able to do 2. This week, I'm back up a little bit, so making some more progress. At the beginning of this week, I was able to get back up. And then here, I made some slight progress, at least for the bench press. All the other exercises, I'm at least previously I was maintaining. I was about a plateau. Now I'm actually making a little bit of progress on this first day of the week. So you see a lot of green there, green indicating that something went up. In most cases, these are reps that went up. You can also see the steps and miles that I had for the day. I'm still doing those 3 miles every night, with the exception of Sunday. Sunday is a ruck march. So I put on basically 40 pounds of gear. And instead of running 3 miles, I walk 3 miles. Again, I'm not trying to lose weight. So when I eat, I try to have a slight surplus on these strength training days where I'm eating 3 meals. It's really hard to get a strength surplus on just the breakfast days. But in this case, I was able to get a 45 or 450 calorie surplus. And you can see the type of stuff I'm eating here. A lot of protein, very heavy on the protein. I'm getting close to 200 grams of protein each day on these 3 meals, coming from all kinds of different sources, whether it's meats like chicken or fish, whether it's the yogurts, milk, if I have any kind of beans, eggs are a big one. So I try to include a lot of that. Grain, I did have some rice and some tortellini this day. I try to avoid grains in general unless I really need some extra carb or some extra calories, just because it's really hard to get the excess calories required without just going crazy over with the protein. So I have to mix it up with some other stuff. But you can see here all the other type of stuff I have. Do have some mix of fruits. So I didn't include blueberries on pineapple on the list, but I have it there. You'd have some blueberries, have some blueberry yogurt, a lot of vegetables associated with it. And then do occasionally throw in some sweets at the end with some others. So in this case, I have the peach cobbler and some ice cream on top, just to keep myself happy as I'm going. Day 2 was a leg day and lower body. So as you can see here on the chart, the progress is actually going back up again. I was able to increase a little bit for the squat. I was able to increase with the deadlift, at least for that middle set. That deadlift, it's tough. I'm trying to lift as much as I can, but it's getting the bar off the ground initially. That's the hardest, especially when we get to that higher weight, which is a little bit disconcerting because I'm still trying to push towards that goal for the 750. And in order to do that, I really need to be able to deadlift about 315, squat about 255, 265, and then bench needs to go up to about 165 or so, which right now it's sitting at, if we look back here, it was 145. Leg press machine, didn't really make any progress there. Lunges, so the went up slightly for the number of reps. So from 7 to 8 for that final set. Just didn't highlight it in green there. All right. So next up is the food for day 2. So this is a breakfast only day. I do try to eat as much as I can at breakfast and get close to my daily, at least sustainment calories. It's tough, but you can see it's a ton of food here. We got everything from eggs. We got a ton of fruits. We got 2 different yogurts, doubling up on those. Some oatmeal to keep things going. A lot of slower digested carbs throughout the day. Don't get a lot of opportunities for vegetables during these breakfast days. So try to supplement that with V8s just because I need a couple days a week of not having any vegetables is a little bit detrimental, especially when you talk about some of the fiber stuff. So in that case, I try to at least have V8s as some type of liquid vegetable. Day 3 exercises. This is the all around body day. Previously, at the end of week 20, my run time went back up. As you can see there, went up to about 12 minutes and 5 seconds. My goal was to hit 11 minutes or below. Starting it off, I was able to bring that down a little bit. I wasn't quite back to where I was initially at like 11:05, but in this case, it made progress from the last time I did it. Increased the weight to the farmer's carry. Previously, I was using dumbbells. Now I'm using the kettlebells. A little bit easier than banging against the legs when I do it. But the kettlebells are on kilograms. So the closest one I had was 53 pounds when it's converted from kilograms. So the weight there is slightly off. So it's 106, 53 and 53 in each hand for the farmer's carry. Luggage carry is just one of them. Increase the number of reps for the reverse sit-ups, straight legs, basically all across the board. Increase the reps, including the sit-ups and push-ups. I've been stagnant on those. For the last couple of instances, just doing 50, so I bumped it up to 60 this time. Slightly lower calorie surplus than other days. We'll see what we ate here in a second, but still a slight calorie surplus. So in this case, it was Tuesday, so Taco Tuesday. Avoided the shell. I probably could have had the shell to have a little bit extra calories, but instead I had a taco salad, a lot of lettuce, had the refried beans, the pico de gallo, the guacamole all mixed together with the ground turkey. Breakfast, threw in an avocado there because it was available, eggs, chickpeas, throwing in a lot of tuna for the protein. Same thing with throwing in chickpeas with the salad for some additional vegetable types. Some salmon for dinner, and then again trying to wrap it up with a little reward for myself because I had some extra calories available and had some cheesecake with strawberries. And even so, with that, it was still only a slight surplus. All right, so day 4 rotates back around to get the arm day. Not as much of an improvement from the first one of the week, but I did see improvements on bench press, shoulder, single arm, the hammer curls, and the triceps. So again, having a lot of eggs, a lot of tuna, high protein stuff, the chickpeas in there for some fiber and some vegetables, and then some fruit and some yogurt. And then the honey, I typically throw that in the oatmeal or throw it in some of the coffee just to sweeten it up a little bit. Day 5, this was leg day, lower body. Didn't make any progress in this day, just sustained it. And it was actually really tough. And I think part of the issue is coming off of a longer fast. In this case, going from breakfast till working out in the morning here, breakfast again, not eating until after this was impacting the ability to have that energy available to make progress, but I was at least able to sustain. In the future, one of the things I'm changing is that I'm going to have breakfast, not a full breakfast, but potentially a banana in the morning, maybe a yogurt 30 minutes or so before starting the workout, breaking the fast a little bit earlier, about an hour and a half or so earlier than what I've been doing, just give myself a little bit of energy so that I can push myself a little bit more during the exercise. Again, it's disconcerting because I need to get those squats and those deadlifts up in order to really hit that goal for the 750-pound club by the end of September. So the food, a lot of variety here, a lot of vegetables, a lot of protein as always, peanut butter cookie there in the evening to carry me over with my sweets, and had about a 300 calorie surplus at the end of it. All right, day 6, this is highlighted there in green and bolded and underlined and everything there because on day 6, I actually met one of my goals. The goal was to get a 1.5-mile run in less than 11 minutes. This is the first time that I've been here that I was able to do that, just slightly under at 10:58. So that's a relief that is doable. I really felt like I couldn't push my body any faster, couldn't move my legs to rotate it faster, but I was able to hit it. Hopefully, I'm able to continue maintaining it and continue to make progress so that it's not just one of those weird flukes of being able to run one time and then it really goes back up to 12 minutes. Everything else was essentially the same, to include the higher level of push-ups and sit-ups, because I did increase the weight across the board. Didn't update the slide here to show it. Should have been not 90 for the farmer's carry, should have bumped up to that 106. That luggage carry should have bumped up to 53, so on and so forth. Same for the reverse sit-up. So again, another slight mistake here, but in general did not have any differences between the last time I did the exercises and when I did the exercises on day 6. Food, again, try to load everything into breakfast. So big meals, had the eggs, had the oatmeal, had the sausages, threw in some French toast sticks, a lot of fruits, and the vegetables being the V8s and the chickpeas. Even with that, as you saw before, I had a calorie deficit of about 900. A lot of that deficit comes from doing that 3 miles each night, which I'm still doing at this point. I'm about 11 or so miles away from hitting the 300-mile club while I'm here. So I'll still be doing that for at least next week. Should hit it there pretty easily. After that, I may cut back on some of the evening miles, maybe switch to swimming. Finally, day 7, wrapping it up from today, increase the run speed for my intervals. So the slower run, it was previously doing an 8-minute mile. Now it's a 7.5-minute mile. Sprint speed is still the same, still running for 2 minutes and then sprinting for a minute, doing 5 rotations. All that's the same. Did the 3 miles. The 130 floors should have been in green because I did go up on the step machine, increase the resistance level or whatever the level is for that. And I guess it affects the speed of the steps that they're coming. So I was able to get a higher number of floors based off of the same amount of time. And then, of course, because there's no food here on this extended fast, it's a start of the 48-hour fast. So nothing here. All right, so the overall results where I'm sitting at, I did gain, according to the scales, on the averaging out about 0.1 pound, which is okay because, again, my goal is to sustain as much as possible versus losing additional weight. I did happen to lose a ½ inch on my waist from the last time I measured. And the body fat percentage, if you look on the bottom left there, has actually gone down. Previously, it was like 7.3 or 7.2. Now it's 16.8. So continuing in the right direction there, even though the weight is going up. So probably a little bit of body recomposition. So that's good news, at least. Again, as I'm calculating these calorie deltas, I'm using a baseline of 2,100 calories per day. The overall delta for the week was negative 5,000-ish, which means I should have lost about 1.5 pounds, but instead gained 0.1. So it's still one of those things I can't figure this out. The projection versus the reality is something that always seems to be off. If anybody has any suggestions on how to improve that, just let me know. I'd appreciate it. And then finally, we have the images here, the videos. Top left is where I started 21 weeks ago. Top right is last week, and then the bottom right is today. Definitely a lot of progress from the beginning. Week to week, not so much, but you can still see maybe a little bit of tone more in the stomach. Although on the other side, the shoulders seem like it's a little bit less pronounced. Could have just been the lighting, but that's progress at least. So all I have for this week. Please join me next week for the latest updates. We'll see where we're going. Big thing is trying to determine whether or not I'm going to continue to push for the 750-pound club goal. In that one, needed to get the bench press, the squat, the deadlift up, and it's been a couple of weeks of stagnation, going down, plateau, and I basically have 4 weeks left to add in an additional almost 100 pounds. Seems almost unreasonable at this point. So I'm going to see where we go next week. And if it looks like it's going to be completely unobtainable, I'm going to switch to maybe losing a little bit more pounds, dropping it a little bit more. If it's at a point where it's not going to be feasible, switching to doing the weight loss a little bit more, try to get the body fat down a little bit further. But again, we'll see where my gains are early next week. If I make progress on the bench press and some of the other weights an inch closer, it might be reachable, but we'll see where we're at. Until next time, that's all I got.